Wait, no, this can't be right. I wasn't supposed to like this movie. It's a Disney remake. How could I have liked this movie? There must be something wrong, an alternate timeline, or I'm in a virtual world. Cruella did it? I don't know how, but Cruella did it. They were able to make fun characters, scenery, and music that put together makes an incredible movie that I couldn't stop thinking about the second I left the theater. But I noticed that the internet is kinda split on this movie, with many reviews either being fully negative or fully positive. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try my best to show the pros and cons of Cruella. Okay, I guess before I do anything, I should summarize the movie for y'all. But before I do that, I do want to tell y'all that this movie is amazing. I couldn't recommend it more. So just go watch the movie. It cost $200 million to make, and it has barely made that much money back. So please, go support this incredible movie. So, the movie starts out with our main character Estella being born, but of course she's a little bit different due to her hair being black and white. Her mom, when she acts cruel, ends up calling her Cruella. She's eventually enrolled in school where she is constantly bullied, but she always fights back. Eventually, after fighting back too many times, she is kicked out of school. So Estella and her mom head to London, but before they do that, she has to stop at a ball to get some financial help from an old friend. So Estella's mom leaves the car and tells Estella to stay in the car, asking her to hold on to a family heirloom. Of course, Cruella does not stay in the car. After getting into some shenanigans at the ball, she's eventually chased by some Dalmatians. After being chased outside, the Dalmatians run past Estella and go for the cliff where they knock her mom off the cliff. After this, Estella runs away, but after she gets away, she realizes she dropped the family heirloom her mom gave her. She eventually finds this fountain where she decides to rest for the night. She wakes up to two kids stealing from people in the fountain. These two kids are Jasper and Horace, who decide to befriend Estella after finding out her mother just died. Estella decides that she has to get rid of her black and white hair by hiding it so the cops can't find it. After this, we cut to years later when Estella, Jasper, and Horace are all adults who spend most of their time on heists. This is until Jasper sees that Estella is unhappy about not being able to carry out her dream of being a fashion designer. So he gets her accepted into a job at a high-end fashion store. This would be a good thing if she wasn't just the cleaning lady. And after trying and trying to convince the boss to let her be a fashion designer to no avail, she goes on a drunken rage and vandalizes a window display. As she is about to be fired and arrested, the Baroness, a big-end fashion designer, shows up and sees her window display, hiring her to work for her. This makes Estella very happy, and she shows up for the job the next morning and begins her fashion career. Over the next few months, she gets close to the Baroness and ends up becoming one of her best fashion designers. But one day while she is working with the Baroness, she sees her mother's necklace that she lost so many years ago. Of course, she asks where the Baroness got it, and the Baroness says that some servant of hers stole it years ago, and now she's dead. This makes Estella angry, so she comes up with a plan to steal the necklace back. The plan is that Jasper takes care of the security systems while Horace sneaks in. But they need a distraction, someone who can look better than the Baroness as to draw attention to herself. Who better than Estella herself? But Estella just can't walk in there as Estella, she would be recognized. So she has to go in as someone else. Someone who she has tried to hold back for years. Showing off, then fighting a bunch of guards, she is able to grab a key off of one of them and pass it to Horace as he heads to the vault room. But when he makes it to the vault room, he finds that the necklace is not there, and we find out it's on the Baroness's neck. Horace gets caught, and it looks like the plan is falling apart until Jasper runs in and puts a bunch of rats on a plate, causing a distraction once they reach the Baroness. With this new distraction, Cruella grabs her mother's necklace and hands it to her dog, who runs off with it. When the Baroness realizes this, she commands her dogs to chase after the dog, which makes Cruella realize that it was the Baroness that killed her mother all those years ago. But before any of that can settle in, one of the Dalmatians eats the necklace. Now that things have gotten a little insane, the team gets back together and they run off, stealing a car in the process. Once they get far enough away, Cruella stops the car and tells Jasper and Horace what the Baroness did. That night, Cruella realizes she needs to get revenge for what the Baroness did, so she comes up with a plan. She wakes up the next morning and tells Jasper and Horace her plan, now having gone full Cruella. What Jasper and Horace have to do is steal her Dalmatians so they can retrieve the necklace. While they do that, Cruella heads to see an old friend, Anita, who is now a newspaper reporter. And Cruella tells her if she wants to have some new gossip to do in the paper that isn't the Baroness. You see, Cruella's plan is to one-up the Baroness at all of her huge events, causing Cruella to be the new face of fashion. This works for a while. She goes to all of the Baroness's events and one-ups her while staying close to the Baroness as Estella working her day job. This is until the Baroness notices that Estella is working on costumes on her lunch and uses one of them as her main piece. She starts working on this main piece for the Baroness, adding these golden beads to make it look amazing. Then she has Horace and Jasper break in to do nothing to make the Baroness worry and put the dresses in a vault. The night of the party comes, and they can't get the vault open. But when they eventually do get it open, they see that the beads on her main dress were actually eggs for moths, that when they hatched, they ate all of the dresses. And the scare of all the moths flying around caused everyone to run outside to see that Cruella is holding a concert. At this concert, we see that she is wearing a Dalmatian skin coat, making the Baroness think that she killed her dogs and turned them into a coat, even though she actually didn't. After the concert, the Baroness sees Jasper and Horace walking away from the concert, so she follows them home. When Cruella gets home, she finds Jasper and Horace tied up with the Baroness standing close behind. So, the Baroness and her goons tie up Cruella and say they are going to burn the place down, killing Cruella and blaming it on Jasper and Horace. So, the Baroness leaves, letting the place burn. So Cruella, sitting there, about to pass out from the flames, sees a silhouette of a man who's coming to save her before she passes out. Cruella wakes up to find the Baroness's right-hand man, who has been there since she was a kid. He says that he found her necklace and he pulls out a part to reveal a key that he is using to unlock a box containing Estella's birth certificate, proving that she is in fact the daughter of the Baroness. Cruella eventually runs out of the house to go to the fountain that she has used to speak to her mother the whole movie. She sits here speaking to her mother, realizing that Cruella was who she was all along, and that Estella was just her fighting back her true personality. With this new information, she heads to break out Jasper and Horace. They are unwilling to help her because they liked Estella better than Cruella, but once she plays the family card, they are on board for whatever plan she has. Her plan starts off by making costumes and putting them in packages disguised to be sent by the Baroness. Once the Baroness's party begins, the guards see a woman with black and white hair and tackle her, but this is when they realize that everyone who came to the party is wearing black and white hair. This is due to the costume that Cruella gave to everyone, allowing her to blend in at the party. As the party goes on, Cruella eventually steals the Baroness's dog whistle, which allows her to control her dogs, and heads to the bathroom to grab her wig that makes her look like Estella, and heads outside where the Baroness killed her mother. When the Baroness eventually makes it outside, she sees Estella and goes in to try to sympathize with her, until she eventually pushes Estella off the cliff. But while Estella and the Baroness were talking, Jasper, Horace, and the rest of their team told everyone to go outside, and as they did, they saw this murder take place. But as we soon find out, this was all a trick by Cruella, and that she didn't die because she had a dress that can turn into a parachute, allowing her to safely maneuver onto a boat. And Cruella heads back up the mountain to see her mother one last time as she is taken away to prison. In the aftermath of all this, she inherits the Hellman Hall and renames it Hell Hall. And as they enter the house, Jasper asks her what is she going to do now, and she looks up and says, "I have a few ideas," and the credits roll. So, the first thing we need to talk about is that amazing beginning scene and how it makes you think that this is going to be a bad Disney villain redemption story, and then slaps you in the face and says, "You think I'm that stupid?" But the genius of it is how they do it. They start off with her as a child, showing why she is different and that due to this she gets bullied. And this shows the audience that she is just a misunderstood character and not the evil villain we thought she was. This is Villain Redemption 101. It is pulling out all the cliches, but then right as you think this is going to be a stupid comedy redeeming a truly evil villain, they throw you a curveball. They kill Cruella's mother, which she forces her into a world without a mother or role model, leading her to make some evil decisions in adulthood that eventually turn her into the evil villain we know and love. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I did not know that this movie was PG-13 going into it, so I was way more shocked than I should have been when Cruella's mom died. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because that twist was awesome. Now that I mentioned a great part of the movie, I have to mention a bad part of the movie, and that is definitely the pacing and tone. The problem with this movie is that it wants to be more than it needs to be. The movie wants to be a spy thriller and a psychological thriller. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this movie is very similar to Joker, which isn't a bad thing. I love how this movie knows its protagonist is a villain and that it never puts into question the whole movie. Sure, she does something good, but only to do something much worse. But the problem is the movie wants to be a spy thriller as well, which really messes with the pacing and tone. We go from a girl going insane because of the way she has been treated her whole life to Mission Impossible with tons of comedy sprinkled in. And in my opinion, I want this to be Disney's Joker. But I do gotta say, I did enjoy every moment of this movie, even if the pacing was a little off. This movie is just so dang charming. Okay, anyway, on to the next bit. The fashion in this movie is the best part. And don't worry, you can trust me. I'm a blue jeans t-shirt guy, and I still like the fashion in this movie. Just every single piece of clothing in this movie was made so well and really fits the time period well. The scene of her one-upping the Baroness with all her clothing was one of the most fun parts of the movie. Like the scene when she just so easily moves that rose dress over the car was so satisfying and awesome to watch. And of course, all the clothing in this movie was made by the super talented designer Von, sorry if I mispronounced that, who deserves way more credit than she got for the costumes in this movie. So go support her because her work in this movie was incredible. Hey guys, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I didn't mind the plot holes in this movie.
Max, look! Those idiots don't even know where we live!
Okay. I guess I should explain myself first. The reason I enjoyed the plot holes in the movie is that it makes it the best Disney remake of all time. Before I continue explaining, let me tell you a story. I liked Maleficent. Yes, I know it's bad because it turns a bad character good, blah blah blah. But that's not why I liked it. I liked the movie because it wasn't telling me the same story again, but with new visuals. It was trying to tell a new story that happens to be connected to the Sleeping Beauty story. And this is exactly why I love the Cruella plot holes, because it's changing the story, trying not to tell the same story twice. And maybe setting up one of the best Disney remakes, which will be the 101 Dalmatians. See, I didn't even have to mention that Pongo and Perdita are related.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Now I gotta say, the acting in this movie was phenomenal. Emma Stone and Emma Thompson worked so well off of each other, and they were really the stars of the film. I mean, they were. Literally, they were like the two main characters. Huh. I guess I should have thought that better when I wrote that in the script. I mean, their chemistry just worked, and it must have been terrible having two Emmas working together, but they made it work. Now, Joel Fry also does a really good job of seeming like a person who cares for Estella, but is tired of Cruella. And his partner Horace was just pure comic relief, but he was always there for the perfect amount of time to be fun, but not annoying. Another notable actor is the bad guy from Shazam, who even though sounded evil the whole movie, actually worked for his character once you found out he was a good guy. Another notable character was Cruella as a child. She was a whole lot of fun while she was on screen. And Cruella's mom performance was so great, I could just jump off a cliff. Now this, in my opinion, is one of the most major problems with this movie that makes it go from a great movie to a good movie. I'm of course talking about the switch from Estella to Cruella. It's too fast, there's no build up to it. She's just Cruella for one night and then she's Cruella the rest of the movie. The thing is, this movie wants to be like the Joker, but a movie like that had a slow build up to a regular man becoming the Joker. Well, this movie wants Estella to become Cruella immediately. It should have been a slow burn. Allow her to fit into this character before she starts becoming the character. Honestly, her playing Cruella would have been perfect for this movie. Cruella gives Estella confidence, so Estella always wants to be Cruella, so she becomes the character eventually, hurting her friends and everyone around her. Now, I hear a lot of people bashing the soundtrack of this movie because it's not original and it's just a bunch of songs from the era. But I'm here to say that this fits perfectly with this film. In fact, it only enhances the history this movie wants to tell you. You see, this movie takes place in the 70s during the punk rock era, and due to this, it has to show this. But a lot of this movie doesn't look like the 70s. So, how do I know when this movie takes place? Well, the music perfectly allows me to immerse myself in the 70s, allowing me to enjoy the movie and the time period it takes place in. And that Call Me Cruella song is the freaking bomb. I'm sure you're wondering at this point how I forgot to mention a gay main character. Well, that's because he's absolutely useless to the story. I hate it when movies do this. I'm a character in this movie, and I'm gay. Well, I guess I finished my character arc. Sorry, this is a short bit, but I just absolutely hate it when movies do this.
This maze is so hard. Maybe it's so narrow at the bottom.
Why would you do that? That's not funny at all! Why would you do that to me?
Well, we went through every praise and nitpick I had with this movie, so that raises the question. How would I have made this movie? Well, I would have cut down the Mission Impossible scenes, allowing more time for our characters to grow and react to their situation, while also getting rid of the tone and pacing problem. Next, I would make the switch from Estella to Cruella slower and more psychological. I would get rid of the useless gay guy. And finally, I would make Pongo and Perdita not brother and sister. I mean, come on, Disney, what were you thinking? That's disgusting. I didn't know Disney promoted incest. I mean, come on. I'm gonna keep rambling about this because, come on, Disney. Come on. Don't do that. That's stupid. Don't do that. No. Just don't. Just don't do that. Okay, next bit. This movie was something special to me. It showed that the director cared about not just making this another Disney remake, and instead making it something people would remember for years to come, and hopefully for future Disney remakes to follow in the same footsteps. And let's hope so, because I still refuse to watch Lady and the Tramp.